Oh, right. We are live for another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and today we're going to be breaking down UFC 317. We've got a lot to talk about, 12 really fun fights, and honestly, a really sick main card. And we haven't had a card of this quality in a while, in my opinion. We have had some fights fall through. We actually just had a fight fall through because Cedric Dumas is now out. I'm going to do my best to break down that fight because now it's Jackson McVey versus Chris Ewert, who's a guy who's coming off of Fury. We're going to talk about him in a second because that's probably going to be the first fight I do. And that'll be an interesting one to talk about. Ewert kind of broke my hopes and dreams a little bit because Reese Watkins was one win away from making it to the UFC, at least to the Contender Series. And I really like Reese Watkins. If you've never seen my interview with him, check him out. He's a really dope guy, really good fighter coming out of Atlanta or Georgia at least. And he just lost again against another really good guy, but it sucks. But anyways, Ewert's good. We're going to talk about him in a sec. Let's catch up with the chat. We're going to recap last week, and then we're going to jump right into it. So let me just get my bearings. Just got home not too long ago. We got Tozo in the house. Tazo, what's up, Tazo? Thank you for tuning in, my brother. McMuffin, what's up, McMuffin? Andrew Kusamino, what's up, Andrew? Marvelous. You stopped watching Game of Thrones for this. Okay, well, cheers to that. And honestly, if you're past season 6, then you should have switched. If you're not past season 6, then it was season 6 where it all went to shit, right? I think so. If you're not, then I really appreciate it. And yeah, he's pretty good. All right, so let's do a quick recap of last week, and then let's jump into this card. So last week we had UFC Baku. I wasn't super active in the space because it was my bachelor party. Told you guys last week, we even made a parlay for it. Unfortunately, the parlay did not cash. Originally, I was pretty happy that I switched out the Melissa Mullins by decision ticket for, forgot what I switched it with. The Sadyakov fight goes, which also did not hit. But yeah, both ended up losing, and then the lotto lost. And the bets were they were frustrating, man. They were really frustrating, especially because all my boys were tailing me. We were all sitting in a room. It's a ton of us, and we're just watching the fights. And we were all real high off of the Sun Young Ko win, not drugs, just the win from Ko. And we're all hype. Everybody was like, yeah, you're the man. You're the man. And then we just started losing, and it sucked. It was not fun. But anyways, here's how we did. So we had Seokyeon Ko. He won, looked amazing. I only had a half unit on him because I just wasn't sure about him. I was pretty sure that the line was wrong. I was pretty sure that he was live to win that fight. I wasn't sure enough to feel comfortable to lay a unit, but in hindsight, I obviously should have, and he looked phenomenal. After that, we had Bogdan Grad against Naimov, and I had Grad by decision as well. Look, I think it was a good bet. Unfortunately, it did not hit, but it was 1-1, right? So the first round, clear Naimov. Second round, in my opinion, clear Bogdan. And then Bogdan was on, like he could have won that third. He takes the back, doesn't have the hooks all the way in, starts to let go of them, but stays on the back, falls off of said back, then gets stuck on bottom, gets gifted a stand-up for no reason whatsoever by the ref. Me and all my boys are like, yeah, let's go. And then he proceeds to not do anything. I'm pretty sure he initiated the grappling again and then loses the decision. And I have no one to blame other than Bogdan Grad and myself. Now I know that dude's fight IQ is non-existent. And that sucked because I really thought he could have won that fight. I definitely don't think he should have been plus 200. So that was brutal. But probably the worst beat by far was losing Rizvan Kuniev at plus 218 for a unit. That sucked. That really sucked because I came around to it. I had Curtis parlayed the first time that they were booked. And then I came around to the Kuniev play. I was like, you know what? I have a feeling that the UFC knows what they're doing here. I don't think that they wanted Blades to win that fight. And I felt that Kuniev could be competitive in the striking. He could maybe get his grappling going. I was wrong about him getting his grappling going, but he certainly was the better striker in that fight. He was the one landing the bigger shots. He was the one busting up Blades. He lost the first. He clearly won the second, and I really felt like he won the third. I'm not ready to call robbery really because like I could see why they gave it to Blades, but I thought it was pretty clear that Kuniev did win that one, and that sucked bad. But then Fiziev brought us back a little bit. Cashed him at plus 110 for one unit. He ended up 30-27ing Bahamondes. I didn't exactly see that coming, but I was one of the few people saying this man might wrestle. And people laughed at me. Anyone I told that to was like, what are you talking about? And really, the only thing I had to go off of was A, he wrestled against Gaethje, and B, he had a bunch of training videos of him grappling recent. So I was like, look, why is he posting this? Why is he working on it? He clearly used it in the Gaethje fight. I was like, I have a feeling this man's going to grapple. And he did. And he did. And it helped him win. But he honestly was winning in the striking too. So great performance from Fiziev. That was a great bet at plus 110. Got him at home too in Azerbaijan. So that felt good. But ended up losing that night. We ended up losing 0.38 units. Tracked after the lottos, it was 0.78. So could be a lot worse, especially considering I played only underdogs, literally only underdogs. Like the closest line I had was the plus 128. Oh, I forgot about Hill, Jamal Hill. That was an awful bet. I think that was probably by far the worst bet I made that night. Like, if in hindsight, I don't think any of the bets I made were bad outside of Hill. Like Grod, yeah, he lost and he deserved the loss, but like I think he clearly could have won that fight, and I think it was clear that the line shouldn't have been plus 200. But Hill he didn't have a chance. He looked horrible. I thought he might be okay from the injury. I thought he looked more in shape. When I saw him during fight week, I was like, he's looking good. Like, we got this. We did not got this. No. And it's kind of brutal because I thought he was championship caliber, and now he can't win a fight to save his life. And I don't know what they do with him now because he just didn't look good. Like, it's not like he was even remotely competitive against Khalil. He wasn't. And they barely even did anything in that fight. It was almost purely leg kicks. So, yeah. End of the day, lost a little bit of money. Could have been a lot worse, though, and the reads were on point. Sometimes that just happens. So hopefully we can do better this week. Now let's jump into the card real quick. We got a few more people in here. Fukaya, what's up, Fukaya? I'm a big advocate that one bad night is a valid excuse, but that was the worst Hill ever looked. I hope he's not washed. Unfortunately, I think he might be washed purely because of the injury. I don't think there's any denying that at this point. What's up, Irish? I had Cunha for last leg of a parlay, and I'm ready to call up robbery. The significant strikes in the graphic. Dude, I'm so tired of these significant strike counts that they've been putting up. Like, I don't believe in fight fixing, really. Not really. Maybe in very rare cases, but I don't really believe in it, not in the UFC. But I think they're fixing the significant strike bets. Because if I was on the inside and I wanted to figure out a way to scheme the system and start getting bets in on something that I can rig, that's the easiest by far. That's way easier than rigging the outcome of a fight, rigging the winner or the outcome, like the method. It's way easier to just be like, you know what? Nah, he didn't land 15 significant strikes. He landed 14. Way easier. Because most people aren't going to bat their eye. The only people who are going to pay any attention are the people who had money on it. And who listens to them? Nobody. Not until something really big happens. So right now, honestly, my best advice that I can give is stay away from over-under significant strikes, because they can lie. They can easily lie. Whoever's counting can 100% lie. And I looked into this. Apparently, they're not allowed to bet based off of like the UFC's policy and all that. But come on, like I bet you money they have their family betting for them. There's no way. Like, how are these counts so wrong and so consistently wrong over and over and over again every single week, and not just once? They do it almost every fight. They don't even care about not getting noticed because they don't think anybody can do anything. And as of now, I don't think anybody will. So, yeah, stay away from significant strikes, over unders. Just way too easy to get rigged. And it's like with takedowns, they can also kind of do that, but it's much harder because a takedown, like, we can all see when his ass hits the mat. It's different with strikes. So, yeah, just be careful. And let's move on before I start getting real angry, because I recently got cooked by one of those. I lied bet Kuniev, and I thought he won round 2 and 3. You were right. Yeah. I had people telling me that the actual narrative was that Curtis Blades is the one the UFC wanted to win because they want to embarrass PFL. Guys, UFC does not give a crap about PFL. They really don't. They really don't. They're bringing in talent that they know have fans and are exciting or have been exciting, or they think can do well in the UFC, and they need that talent. In the heavyweight division, they desperately need talent. And it turns out John Jones literally dropped the belt that night. So, yeah, I didn't think it was ever about making the PFL look bad. If anything, I thought the UFC felt that Curtis Blades was done. He was never seeing the title. He's not exciting, unfortunately. People don't really get excited when Curtis Blades fights. And they were like, let's get this Russian dude who's pretty talented, and let's see if we can get him up there. Because my main point when I had a friend who also told me the PFL narrative, I was like, dude, okay, let's say you're right and that's what the UFC wants. What if Kuniev knocks Blades out? Then they're taking this PFL guy and they're putting him right into the title picture. It would have been better, if anything, if they really wanted Kuniev to lose and not really have the risk of, oh, what if he wins and now we got to give him a title shot? Give him like Volkov. Volkov probably would have beat him, somebody like that, not Blades. So yeah. Tell me Jonathan didn't bet himself by decision against Lewis. I don't know. That was really weird. I'll give you that. That was really, really weird and really sus. What's up, Eric? Yeah, gun hose on shots. Huh. Yeah, I'm not much of a hockey guy, but I could imagine it's similar. It's good, Dravi. It is an insane card. I'm pretty hyped for it. Make sure you guys are checking out my boy Dravi and the guys that Beat the Line broadcast. My favorite part of every week is tuning in and watching them roast Pegasus and watching Pegasus absolutely butcher names. It's the best thing ever. Jammer, what's up, Jammer? Kuniev definitely did more damage, but it was all in round 2. Yeah, I thought 3 was what I thought Kuniev won 3, but I thought you could give it to Blades. Like I had friends telling me, like, "Oh, we're good. Kuniev got it," and I was like, I would not be so sure. That's also a good point. Blades probably makes good money. What's good, Marcus? My guy, always good to see you in here. I'm looking forward to hear your Topuria versus Oliveira analysis. Hopefully, I can give you guys a good breakdown. Mike, what are the odds you could be Dumas's lawyer? You're the lawyeriest MMA guy I know. I'm not a criminal defense attorney, so I probably wouldn't be his best bet. But honestly, it doesn't seem like he has a very good one, so maybe I'd be better because he keeps ending up in trouble. I don't understand the criteria for stand-up separation. Grad stood up, but all around one blazes. It was just new. Yeah, I mean, it's all refs, right? And also the grad one, stand-up just made 0 sense. Like, I had money on grad. I was not going to complain, obviously. But I was like, what are they doing? That doesn't make any sense. Maybe he had a bet on grad. Who knows? All right, time to talk fights for this week. That went quite a bit. I start ranting and then I can't stop. That's my problem. All right. Let's make this a little smaller. Open up these last few. This one's going to be different. So when we get to it, I will replace the fighter. All right. All right, let's do this thing. Oh, I'm so small. No, now I'm too big. Okay, one more time. How's that? Money. All right. Cheers, boys and ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let's break down UFC 317. So, first fight of the night, we've got Niko Price versus Jacobe Smith. Price is going to be 16-8-0, 35. He's 6 feet tall with a 76-inch reach. On the other side, Jacobe Smith, he's going to be 10-0, undefeated, 29 years old. So he's going to be 6 years younger, going to be 2 inches shorter, and he's actually given up 4 inches in reach. So I'm not going to waste anybody's time. Jacobe Smith is going to knock out Niko Price, in my opinion. Am I going to bet on it? Absolutely not. The lines are cooked. There's no value whatsoever anywhere to be found. The under 1.5 was probably a good bet, but it got smoked. It's minus 270, and I'm not in the business of laying chalk on under 1.5s. I don't even like playing them at plus money. So fight ends ITDs minus 800. Smith knockout is honestly minus 300. I'm surprised it's not higher, but I would not ever play that either. Like, I guess if you want to like roll the dice with Smith by sub, but he never really goes for subs. So yeah, Niko Price is washed. Niko Price is too slow. Niko Price is incredibly flat-footed. Jacobe Smith, incredible athlete, good wrestling, very aggressive, very powerful, good striking that's also developing, and just has a very high ceiling. I think a great future. He's much younger, taking much less damage, and he really should smoke Niko Price. But don't put him in your parlays. Minus 2,500 is not going to help your parlay at all. It'll change it almost nothing. So just skip this fight. Just watch it. Watch Jacobe Smith retire Niko Price. All right. Next up. Oh, what's good, Pile? Good to see you in here. We got Jhonata Diniz versus Alvin Hines. Diniz, he's going to be 8-1-0. He's going to be 34 years old, 6'4", and let's call it an 80-inch reach. On the other side with Hines, we've got 7-0. He's undefeated. He's 33, and he started his career in 2023, so he got into MMA pretty late, coming into the UFC on the older side of things, but it doesn't really matter at heavyweight because he can be in here for at least another 7 years just fine. We've seen people stay much longer. He's 2 inches shorter, and he's going to be giving up just about 6 inches in reach. So I've been trying to fade Diniz for a while. I faded him. I'm pretty sure I bet Austin Lane, or I bet fight starts round 2, or both. I don't remember. I bet Carl Williams against him, and probably would have cashed that ticket if the UFC didn't tell Carl Williams that you can't wrestle or you're going to get cut. And he ended up not listening to them anyways, going into the 3rd round, taking Diniz down and still losing because he waited so long. And then I did bet Topuria against Diniz because of the ground game, because of the advantage there. And going into this fight, I've seen Hines fight. I wasn't super familiar, so I had to go back and look at it. I was taping it. And he's cool. He's aggressive. He's clearly a pretty solid heavyweight prospect. I think he's going to get UFC wins. He's a decent wrestler. Solid. He's got a good single leg. He's got decent entries, but he doesn't have wrestling credentials. He wasn't, as far as I understand, he did not wrestle pre-MMA. It's something he developed with his game as he's been training MMA, mixed martial arts. And, I'm watching him against his last fight against Billy Ray Valdez. And Valdez is not very athletic. He's not a high-level mixed martial artist. I'm picking my words wisely here. He's not it. He's not it at all. And Alvin Hines didn't have the easiest time taking him down. Valdez was sprawling on him. He was making it relatively difficult. And then you go back earlier into Hines' career, and Hines was getting taken down himself. Hines has been out-grappled before. He has struggled with takedowns in the past. Not that Diniz is going to come out here and take him down, no. But my point is that I just don't really rate him super highly as a wrestler. Now, when he's on top, he's heavy on top. He's got solid submissions, submitting Philip Latu in I believe it was his pro debut. Pretty impressive. That's a pretty good win. That's a pretty good way to get it done. And he's got pretty good ground and pound. He's aggressive, and the striking's not bad either. He's got a solid jab. He's very plotty, though. He's got a little bit of movement, but he's very plotty. Head is kind of just there to be hit. He's relatively slow. Good jab, though. Decent combinations. Pretty easy to counter, though, in my opinion. And he does have a good head kick for a heavyweight. His head kick gets up there pretty fast. He got that knockout against Valdez in his last fight and was able to get it done. It was a good head kick. But I think Diniz is probably going to knock him out, honestly. And I really want to bet Hines. I wanted to. Now less so. I might still get there depending on how wide the line gets. If I get closer to Hines plus 350, I would actually have to plug some numbers into the odds converter first. But something along those lines, I would probably get to a half unit play on Hines. Because at the end of the day, look, if Austin Lane is taking you down and keeping you there for an entire round, Hines could probably do it too, because Austin Lane, I don't think he ever even shot a takedown before that fight. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm dead serious about that. If I'm not mistaken, he literally didn't get a single takedown ever, Austin Lane, before that fight. So I can't come out here and say Hines has no chance of taking him down. He has a chance, and if he does get him down, Diniz has horrible get-ups. He has no ability to get back up, so he'll be done. So that's why you can't lay the chalk on Diniz here at -3, whatever it is, 350 or 325. You can't do it because if he does get taken down, he has no get-up game. He just doesn't. But on the feet, Diniz is a much better striker. He's a good kickboxer. His leg kicks are going to be money here, I think, because like I said before, Hines is already pretty plotty, and he's not the best wrestler, in my opinion. And if Diniz takes away his legs, it's going to get that much harder for him to take down Diniz, and it's going to be that much harder for him to be explosive. So the leg kicks are going to be money. His counters should be money. His striking is much better, much cleaner, much sharper. The output is kind of not it. But to be fair, a good amount of people have been trying to grapple him, so maybe that's why. But honestly, I just think his output isn't the best. So that's another concern with Diniz, but not necessarily in this particular fight because Hines isn't throwing high volume either. I mean, most heavyweights don't. And yeah, long story short, I think Diniz is going to knock him out. I'm leaning towards a round 2 kind of thing, but it could really be in any round. It's just round 1 is plus 100. There's no value there. And I'm thinking about the round 2, maybe a sprinkle, but I kind of rather play Hines if he gets just an outrageous number. And if not, I'll probably just stay away from this fight. But yeah, I lean towards the Diniz knockout. Just a tough matchup for Hines, but the UFC is giving him a path here. They're giving him a guy that he could take down and a guy who, if he does take down, will get stuck. So I think they're trying to see what they have here, and there's a possibility he gets it done. But in terms of a pick, we're going to go Diniz KO, and we'll go round 2. We'll say Hines comes out there, goes for takedowns, maybe gets one early, or just a lot of cage pushing. We get into round 2. Hines has good cardio. He has great cardio, but maybe he slows down a little bit. It's his UFC debut, and then Diniz catches him, puts him away. Maybe the leg kicks that up, something like that. But I do want to mention, I forgot, Hines does have great cardio. Like, if it comes to it, he probably has the better cardio out of the two of them, does train at elevation. But yeah, Diniz for me here, and we can move on. Let me catch up with the chat real quick, though. We got Cody in here. What's up, Cody? Make sure you guys are checking out my guy Cody and Wager Wars. Wager Wars probably the best I would say the best like game show that the MMA space has by far. Victor saying Diniz KO. I tend to agree with you. Pepe saying he's got 10 units on Diniz average at minus 224. That makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, max bet is balls on the table, that's for sure, but I can see it. Carl Williams didn't get told not to wrestle. He was told he needed to get a finish because he was all decisions. That's a false narrative. Look, Carl Williams said it, unless I'm completely out of my mind. He did say it, so it is what it is. Victor saying Diniz easy money. Moyes saying Alvin gets his biggest wake-up call when he wakes up on the canvas. Thank you for your service. Okay. Over 1.5 is sneaky, says McMuffin. What's the price there? I wouldn't do it at chalk. Not when Diniz could probably doubt him. Hope Hines can pull it off. LOL would be funny if he got rocked and fell into a takedown. That would be pretty funny. I don't know how likely. Diniz should be minus 450. Okay. Pepe knows what he's talking about. Diniz winning for sure, though. I'm not saying that. Pick'em MMA is saying that. Drinking note. What's up, drinking note things? Thank you. I appreciate that. What's up, Jammer? Saying McVey's from my hometown. Cool. From Missouri. They opened Diniz minus 700, minus 800, and have a plus 450 Hines ticket. That's good. I like that. I would have played plus 450, I think. Anyone taped McVey's new opponent yet? I did a little bit right when I got home. That's what I was doing right before the show. And we'll talk about it. Cayman, what's up, Cayman? Appreciate you coming in here. Local man shakes fists. Got Hines plus 600. That's a good line. And Diniz minus 175. Well, then you did your job. All right, so for this next fight, Dumas is out. I'm going to pull up Alvin Hines. Oh, not Alvin Hines. Sorry. I'm going to pull out Chris Ewert's Tapology. I'm not going to be able to pull it up on the screen, but I'll read you guys off his stats. So now we have Jackson McVey versus Christopher Ewert. Christopher Ewert, he's undefeated at 7-0. He's 31 years old, so he's a little bit on the older side of things for a UFC debut. He's 6'1", and he's going to have a reach of NA. We don't know. And then on the Jackson McVey side, he's 6-0. He's also undefeated. He's going to be 26 years old, so he's 5 years younger. He's going to be 3 inches taller, though, and he's going to have a 77-inch reach. So I don't want to give away too much here because I don't want to cook any lines, and I don't want to screw myself over and the guys over at House of Stims, because I think we might have a bet here, and I think we might have a good one. If you are from the House of Stims, if you're subscribed, or if you subscribe after this video, DM me, and I'll tell you which way I'm leaning. But I'm going to try not to say a ton, but it should be an interesting fight. So with Jackson McVey going into the tape for the Dumas fight originally, I was, of course, looking to fade Dumas because the man was literally in jail recently. And now he comes in for a UFC fight. Like, something was weird there. Clearly, the UFC was not setting him up to win against the guy who's undefeated. Clearly a prospect that the UFC was targeting. A guy with all-round one finishes. And I was definitely looking into McVey to fade Dumas. But when I got to it, McVey was already chalk. He was already like, huh? Why am I being told to? Is this live? Tell bro to stop. What did I do? Okay. Well, I know this fight is canceled. That's why I'm about to. I literally just introduced Chris Ewert a second ago. But anyways, back to McVey. So he's long, rangy. He's got solid striking. He's good in the clinch. I'm weak. Okay, what's going on over here? Did the line come out? I'm looking up if the line came out on Bet Online. It opened. Ooh, okay. All right. If you're in the House of Stims Discord, I'm going to send out something on my channel right now, and I'll let you guys know which way we're looking. Okay, cool. If you're in House of Stims, you got my bet. You got who I like. But yeah, Jackson McVey, very dangerous. A lot of first round finishes. That's all of his pro fights. He had a few amateur fights that got extended, but I could only really get access to one of them, and I think it ended in the second round. He seems like a decent wrestler, but not the best. He's a solid striker. He has power, very opportunistic submissions. And then on the Ewert side, you got a guy who I've got a little bit of a personal beef with, not actually, but like I said in the beginning of the show, I'm upset that he beat my guy. Of course, now I freaking forget his name. Reese Watkins beats my guy Reese Watkins, makes Reese lose his Dana White's Contender Series spot that he didn't have yet, and then gets it himself. And now he's coming in on a short notice debut, but he's a good fighter. He's a very exciting fighter. He doesn't have much defense. That's always a concern with him. He's very hittable, but he's got a lot of pressure. He throws high volume. He goes to the body well. He's got solid counter grappling, and he's very exciting, high pressure, very good cardio, and much more tested cardio than someone like Jackson. So yeah, I'm not going to say much more than that, and then we're going to keep moving on. Well, that got crazy really quick. Okay. Let's see. So let's catch up with the chat. So yeah, McVey opened minus 250. I'm not surprised he opened the favorite. That's kind of what I was expecting. Always plotting Pepe, always. Well, good thing that he's not fighting this week. And I literally always fade him. Always. And I've lost money trying it, but it worked the most recent time. Anyways, back to the fights. We got Terrance McKinney versus Viacheslav Borshchev. McKinney is going to be 16-7-0, 30 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. On the other side with Borshchev, he's 8-5-1. I did not realize how ugly his record got. He is going to be 33 years old, so he's 3 years older, 1 inch taller, which also doesn't make a ton of sense to me because McKinney's really tall. Is that what the UFC stats has? Yeah, they do. That's weird. I didn't expect that. And then he's given up 4 inches in reach. So for this fight, I lean towards the McKinney side. I definitely do. I haven't gotten to a play yet. I don't know that I will because it really is hard to trust McKinney. I used to be a huge fan of his. I'm still a decent sized fan. I would say he's a very exciting fighter. But when he made it to the UFC, I was like, this dude's awesome. But the cardio's so bad. It's so bad. And I've always had the hope that, like, all right, like he got to the UFC pretty young. He beat all these guys early before the UFC. He'll develop the cardio. Like, I'm sure he's going to get better cardio. And then it just never happened. It never happened. And his chin's not the best either. Not the most durable fella, but he's a good striker. Nice, clean down the pipe. I love the straight punches. Good 1-2, good jab, solid kicks. Doesn't put together like as clean of combinations as someone like Slava does. Slava probably going to be a much cleaner striker up close at range. I think McKinney's going to have an advantage because of that reach, because of how fast and explosive he is. But Slava's going to be faster with the hands in general. In the pocket, he's definitely going to be faster, more dangerous. He's got really good body work too. So he's definitely not out for the count here standing. And he's going to have the better cardio. So if he can survive in, like, let's say round 2, round 3, there's a good shot that he can win the fight. But I also think that McKinney's going to have a really significant ground game advantage. And I know that Slava has improved a lot, but his takedown defense still is kind of a problem. It's not the best. And McKinney's a really, really good wrestler. I've always said that. I still believe it. He's got great control. He's got a slick back take. He's got really nice submissions. Ran through Faraziem on the ground. It wasn't even close. And I do think that the most likely outcome, at least in my mind, is that he submits Slava. I'm thinking probably the first or second round. I know Slava's actually pretty difficult to submit for a guy who doesn't have the best ground game, but I think McKinney could do it. But But I also think that McKinney could possibly knock out Slava because I think that durability is starting to go. I think the chin's starting to go a little bit. And I think that McKinney hits really, really hard. So I am going to lean towards the McKinney side. He's got the he's got the wrestling edge, the jiu-jitsu edge. He's going to, at range, I think he's going to have an advantage. I think he hits harder out of the two of them. Slava faster, cleaner in the pocket, and better cardio, so I'll give that to him. But overall, going to lean towards McKinney. I just don't know that I can lay chalk, but I might. We'll see. We'll lean submission, and we'll go round 1. Because if he doesn't, he's probably in trouble. Love McKinney, but Santa is way better. Depends on what. I mean, he's a much better boxer and kickboxer, I would say. But at range, I don't think he's necessarily all that much better. I just think McKinney's going to be able to hit him from further away, is what I mean by that. And I do think that McKinney's clearly a better grappler. McKinney first round. McKinney is a hard guy to trust at chalk. That's for sure. That is for sure. Joey Crafton. What's up, Joey? Hyder versus Delgado. I think we're getting there. Time prop for Ewert fight just came out. Overlook solid at plus 125. What is it? Over 1.5 or 2? Over 1.5. Yeah, I don't hate it because Ewert's really durable. But if Jackson does win, you know, he's getting all his wins early. So I guess it makes sense that it opened up at chalk. Is my 3-leg parlay crazy or winnable? I got Viviane Araujo, Gregory Rodriguez, and Beneil Dariush. The value is there. I watched the tapes, and my choices seem solid. I think your choices are solid. I like it. I don't hate it at all. Like, if you made me parlay those 3 specific fights, I'd probably pick the same legs. All right, moving on. We got Viviane Araujo. She is on. If you're watching, can you let me know what just happened? Did I freeze? The whole screen went black. All right. I think I'm back. I don't know what the hell just happened, but I believe I'm back. Let me pull the fights back up. I'm sorry about that, guys. I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi. I have good Wi-Fi, and it's literally wired up. I got the, whatever it's called, that Ethernet cable. Might be something with in general with the service, but all right. Now we got it, and maybe I should go faster and finish this card up as soon as I can because I don't want to lose that again. Thank you guys for bearing with me. Somehow we gained viewers while I was gone, so that's great. Anyways, Viviane Araujo versus Tracy Cortez. 38 years old, 5'4" with a 68-inch reach. Cortez, 11-2-0. She's going to be 31, so she's 7 years younger. She's going to be 1 inch taller, and she's going to give up, let's call it 3 inches in reach. So this is an interesting fight. I have to look into this one a little bit more. I did tape it, but not fully, and it's on my list of fights that I need to get done fully. But I do lean dogger pass. I definitely lean dogger pass. It's never Cortez chalk for me unless it's like a real layup. And I don't think this is a layup. I played Vivi against not Natalia Silva, never fading Natalia Silva, against Karine Silva. I bet her there. That felt good. She was a big underdog. Not many people gave her a shake. My Wi-Fi is doing it again. Yeah, that's throwing me off. Yeah, my point is what I was trying to say before I got so rudely interrupted by my Wi-Fi was that Cortez isn't as dangerous as Karine Silva, right? She's not as dangerous. I would say that her margins are relatively thin because she's not really finishing her opponents. She's a good wrestler, but Vivi has really good takedown defense, and her striking is solid. And like that's where I think she'll probably still get it done here, Cortez. Like she can probably still outstrike Vivi just because she's going to throw more volume, in my opinion. But her head really doesn't move much. Vivi probably hits harder, honestly. I think she's got a little bit more pop to her punch. And she's pretty defensively sound on the feet. She's not somebody that people are throwing a ton of volume against. And she's got pretty good offensive wrestling of her own. And Cortez can be taken down. So for me, this is a very clear dogger pass. I have not made a play yet, but if I was to make one, it would be on Araujo. And so my guy Pick'em MMA over here saying Vivi plus 3.5 as a parlay piece, but I'm always there as a, yeah, if it's chalk, I wouldn't. I refuse to lay chalk on any spread for that exact reason, because it's cost me so much money back in like 2023, where I would keep betting the spreads at chalk, thinking easy money. They just have to win a round. But one bad judge giving a 30-27 where there's no business to give a 30-27 is all it takes to ruin your bet, cost you the money. And you laid all this chalk just to get the spread, and you lost it anyways because of a bad judge. And it happens all the time, and it's just not worth it. Plus money spreads, okay. Lay one unit, whatever it is, fine. But I would never lay chalk on a spread. Not anymore. And I could probably use the Starlink because Spectrum is failing me right now. Never liked Tracy, nothing about her. Yeah, I mean, she's good. She's definitely not bad. She's a good fighter, but I don't think she should necessarily be chalky here. We'll go with Tracy for the time being. Fight I have to look into more, but definitely dogger pass. Okay. Now this is a great fight. For this matchup, we've got Hyder Amil versus Jose Delgado. Hyder Amil 11-0 undefeated. He's going to be 35 years old, which is kind of crazy. He's 5'9" with a 70-inch reach. On the other side with Delgado, he's 9-1-0. He's going to be 27, so he's 8 years younger. He's going to be 5'11", so he's 2 inches taller, and he's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage. So first off, I think it's so funny that Hyder Amil is still undefeated. Literally, the year of undefeated prospects or undefeated fighters losing their O's. So many high-level guys have lost their O's. Umar lost his O, but Hyder continues undefeated. It's incredible, and I love it. I love it. In this fight, I went into it thinking Delgado was the side. Pre-tape, I thought Delgado was the side, just because as much as I love Hyder, as much as I love him for cashing me that ticket against William Gomi, he's not the most technical guy, and he's quite a punching bag, to say the least. And Delgado's really good. He's really slick. Clearly, in my opinion, the more talented, the more technical guy out of the two of them. Probably the guy with the higher ceiling. He's taller. He's rangy. He could probably take advantage of that bad striking defense of Hyder. He hits harder than Hyder, and he's probably got a little bit more submission upside. He's pretty slick with them, but he's not really the best offensive grappler. And I think Hyder Amil's takedown defense and get-ups and scrambling ability are all pretty good. And then once I was taping it, I remembered why I tried to fade Delgado with Ernie Juarez on the Contender Series. And it was because I felt that when Delgado's pressured, when you take away his space, he can really struggle. He's not as comfortable when you take away that space because he's a rangy guy, because he needs it to operate. He needs it to work. And when you do that, when you take it away, he starts to get uncomfortable. And when you pressure him, he starts to get a little bit more tired. Now, he's also liable to be taken down. His one loss was to Chris Makate through grappling. And like, it wasn't the best look, but to be fair to him, Chris Makate is also a pretty good fighter on the regional scene, probably will make it to at least the Contender Series. And he's a good wrestler. So probably a better wrestler than Hyder for sure. So like, you can't blame him too much, and that was pretty early in Delgado's career. But all that said, I do think Delgado struggles with pressure. I think the best way to beat him is to take away his space, and I do think he can slow down and possibly struggle with grappling. Hyder Amil will 100% take away the space. This dude does not stop moving forward. You have to knock him out to do it, and nobody's been able to do it. He's incredibly durable, despite being super hittable. Now, eventually that might cost him, but lucky for him at 35, probably doesn't have all that much time left in his career anyways. He's got one run in him, and he's going for it. His striking's decent. Again, not the most technical. Delgado going to be much more technical, and I am a little bit worried about the Delgado knees in the clinch, but Amil does go to the body really nice. Then he'll go upstairs when you're trying to cover up. Good leg kicks. I think that could work against Delgado pretty well. And I just think the most important thing here is the cardio and the pressure. Just the pressure, the forward movement, and the fact that he's just going to take away the space from Delgado. So ultimately, I think that Hyder Amil is going to win this fight. I think he's going to win it by decision. That's my lean. He could probably finish Delgado, but I don't think he's going to. I don't think it's the most likely outcome. I think in the first round, it's going to be competitive. Amil is going to immediately zip right in front of him, start pushing him back. Delgado's going to be fresh, though. He's probably going to be countering. I feel like Delgado has very similar weapons to William Gomi. And William Gomi was able to give Hyder some problems with the counters, with the long-range weapons, with the knees. But William Gomi also has really, really good lateral movement. That's one of the best aspects of his game, is that he can move so that his opponents struggle to find him. And against a marauder like Hyder Amil, that'll work. Delgado doesn't move like that. He doesn't. He doesn't have the same lateral movement at all. And I don't think he's going to be able to do what William Gomi was doing. And I think that Hyder Amil is going to get it done. Let's see what we got in the chat, and then we're going to move on. Delgado seems more talented. I agree there. Hurricane is your GOAT. Also agree with you. Missed the under at Pick'em. What, for this fight? Or are you talking about the McVey fight? Exactly my thoughts. I think Jose needs space that Hyder won't give. Yep. That's really what my breakdown all comes down to. Delgado trained with Batista. I think he wins, likely KO. Yeah, I mean, if anyone's going to knock out Hyder, Delgado's probably live to do it. I don't know that training with Batista is going to help him all that much right now. But I do like that he's training at MMA Lab. I think it's a phenomenal camp for guys in like the 145, 135, 125 weight classes. Amil live, but wouldn't bet. Slight lean. Give me Hyder Amil. Amil first fight in the big cage is a concerning factor. Huh. That's an interesting point. But again, I'd be much more concerned if he was fighting William Gomi in the big cage than I am against Jose Delgado. Because as good as I think Delgado is, I don't think he's got that same lateral movement at all. All right. Let's move on. Next up, we've got Jack Hermansson versus Gregory Rodriguez. Jack, he's going to be 24-8-0. He's 37. He's going to be 6'1" with a 77-inch reach. And he has not fought since 1 year and 4 months ago when he defeated Joe Pyfer. Oh, there it is. So I just got a notification from Spectrum that an outage has been reported in your area. We're working on it. Great. Great timing. Fantastic timing. But yeah, back to this. So Jack's been out for a while. Now on the other side, Gregory Rodriguez, RoboCop, one of my favorite fighters, definitely one of my favorites at middleweight. He's going to be 33 despite looking 80. So he's going to be 4 years younger. He's going to be 2 inches taller, and he's going to have a 2-inch reach disadvantage. So in full disclosure, I have not fully taped this fight yet. This is one of the ones that I still have on my list that I still have not gotten to fully. It's just been a crazy week, and I just got back from this weekend on Sunday pretty late. So haven't gotten to this one yet. But as of now, I do like Gregory to get it done. I don't love that he's so chalky because he's always been super hittable. The chin is a concern to me. He recovers really well, to be fair to him, and he took a lot of big shots from Cannonier before he finally did get finished. But he's pretty hit or miss sometimes. Fight IQ, not always the best. He's gotten better because there was a point where he really fell in love with the boxing. And I'm a guy who hasn't always believed in that narrative. I always thought it was just something people said because it sounded cool or smart. And I always thought it was kind of dumb, but Sometimes it's true. And with Greg, it did feel like it was true. But finally, he started grappling again. Started using it to win fights, and it was working. But the striking also did get really good, to be fair to him. He's great boxing, has a lot of power, works off of his jab really, really well. I just worry a little bit about the defense, you know. And then with Jack's a well-rounded guy. He's a very well-rounded fighter. He's been around in this division for a very long time. He's fought some of the best guys in the division. Really good grappling, very, very good wrestling, good takedown defense, and he's got good striking. He can he's got good lateral movement. He can pick guys apart. He was able to do it against Chris Curtis. And I think that there's a world where if Greg comes out hot, Jack could maybe extend him. Jack's not going to be easy for Greg to take down. I'm pretty confident in that. But I just think Greg's going to get it done. Like, if anybody gets a knockout, I think it's going to be Greg. I don't really think they're going to submit each other, but like, Greg could probably take him down, I think. If he really tried, I think he probably could do it. Maybe take the back. He's got a slick back take. He's hard to get off of you once he's there. And I just think he's going to land the bigger shots. Like, I think most of this fight is going to be on the feet. And while Jack will be good with the pitter-patter shots, and maybe he could, you know, stay safe, keep his defense going and land shots while he's using the movement. But I think Greg's pretty likely to win the first 2 rounds, and I wouldn't be shocked if he knocked Jack out either. So that's where my head's at. Again, I still have to tape this one. Don't take what I said as like 100% certainty. Maybe my opinion will completely change, and I'll like Jack after I tape it. And the only way you'll find out really is if you're in the House of Sims Discord. That's where I post my notes, my bets, and my breakdowns. And if you want to join, check out the link in the description of this video, and we can get you set up. And if you can't figure it out, just DM me, and we'll figure it out. But yeah, I'm going to pick Greg here for now. I'll lean decision, but I do think he can knock out Jack. I do think he can do it. He hits real hard. Let's see if we got anything in the chat here. Jack live to pull it off. I don't disagree. The line does give me kind of the ick. But all right. So we're up to the main card. Before we get into the main card, we've got 620 of you watching right now. 566 of you are on Twitter. That's fine. If you're on Twitter, please like the video, retweet, comment. That's great. But it would really help if you switched over to YouTube. And to give you a little bit of incentive, I'm going to do the same thing I've been doing for a while now, for a couple weeks. Everybody who sends just one comment in the live chat of this stream, only through YouTube, will be included in how do I call it? A raffle, I guess. If I hit my lotto this week, I'm going to play another lotto. House of Stims Discord will get it. If it hits, I'll pick somebody randomly from the live chat. I'll do the spinner. I'll record it so nobody says I scammed. And then I'll give whoever wins 10% of the profit from the lotto parlay. So let's say my parlay is $25 to win 1,000. You'll get $100 if you win. If it's 2,000, you'll get $200. And that's what we're going to do. And hopefully that'll bring some of you guys over to YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, please comment, like, subscribe. It all really, really helps. You can hate on me. That's cool too. Doesn't matter at all. As long as you comment, helps me out a bunch. In your dreams, Henry. In your dreams. Gene Silva versus Diego Lopez. Let's go. Gene Silva's about to get a title shot in 26. Watch. Would be sick if he got a title shot this year, because when the year first started, or right before the year started, I put $5 on Gene Silva to be champ end of 2025 at plus 25,000. I just threw a $5 on it, said screw it. And it would be really cool if that cashed. So do it. And honestly, him versus Volk would be a really fun fight. Lima, Topuria, and Diniz locks. Okay, okay. How is Lima winning this? Well, I'll tell you in a second, Will. Listen to Daz. What's up, Daz? Good to see you in here. Hit the like button. I haven't even checked how many we have, but I'm going to trust you guys. We have 48 people watching on YouTube, so I'm just going to assume that we have 48 likes. And if we don't, please like the video. I'm going to bet the house on Lima, Topuria with Payton Hedge. Gotcha. Nice. You're late, local man. Someone already said it. Yeah, listen to Brian. Listen to him. He's a very smart man, clearly. Transfer over from Twitter. One comment, and then you're in the raffle for if I hit the lotto. What's up, MMA Clips? Good to see you, man. All right. Into the main card we go. We got Payton Talbott versus Felipe Lima. Talbott, he's going to be 9-1-0, 26, 5'10" with a 70-inch reach. On the other side, Lima, 14-1-0. He's going to be 27, so he's 1 year older. He's going to be 4 inches shorter, though, and he's going to be at a 2-inch reach disadvantage. This is also Lima's first fight at bantamweight in the UFC. He made his debut at 145 because I was on short notice, and they needed somebody to fight Naimov, and he was able to get it done. And then he fought Miles Johns at 145. I don't know why. I don't remember off the top of my head. But if I had to take a wild guess, I would say Miles Johns probably missed weight. So that's my assumption. Could be wrong, but that's my assumption. So this will be his first fight at 35 in the UFC. Now, it sucks that they booked this. Like, it doesn't suck in that it's going to be a good fight. It's two really good prospects. It's going to be exciting. But it just sucks because, like, yeah, I think Lima's going to win. And Talbott's going to be 9-2-0. We'll probably get a good line on him when they give him an easier matchup, but just kind of killed all the hype. Everybody was so hype about Payton. I was hype about Payton. I did fade him with Raoni. I just thought the line was absurd, and it was. But like, I like the guy. He's a great prospect, in my opinion. Really talented, really athletic, really good striking, fast, crisp counters, really good footwork. Just really, really good on the feet. But the grappling is clearly pretty deficient, so that's a concern. Cody, if you had to pause, make sure you skip the part where my screen goes black because my Wi-Fi decided to trip out in the middle of the show. But yeah, so with Talbot, the problem is the grappling. You know, against Barcelos, he clearly really struggled. I feel like his reactions to the takedowns were correct. Like, he did the right things, right? He was fighting the hands immediately. The hips looked solid. He even got a lateral throw against Raoni, which is super impressive. Hand control was there. He was looking for the underhooks, the overhooks. But ultimately, like, once Raoni just re-wrestled a little bit or turned the corner a little bit, he got him down pretty easy. And once he had Payton down, it was very hard for Payton to get back up. In general, Payton's get-ups are pretty good against other opponents. But in that matchup, he did struggle quite a bit with the get-ups. And that was concerning. On the feet, he still looked sharp. He was still giving Raoni problems, in my opinion. But again, the grappling's pretty deficient, and we've known that for a long time. Like, that's the same reason I bet Reyes Cortez against him on the Contender Series. Obviously, was not a good bet. I lost that one, but that's what my point is. I've always kind of known that about Talbot. I didn't fade him against Aguirre, and I thought he would knock him out, so I lost money that way because I played the knockout and he got the sub. But I've always been concerned about the grappling. That's why I went for the Barcelos play, and that's why I think Lima will get it done. But I'm also, like, I'm not dying to play Lima at such chalk, you know, minus 185. Like, it might end up looking pretty value. If I'm being honest, it might. And I'm thinking about it, but I was also thinking about a Talbot play. I'm pretty undecided here, and I taped this one for a while. I spent a lot of time on this one. And it's like with Lima. So he's really well-rounded. He's definitely really well-rounded. I think his ceiling is probably a bit higher than Payton's. I think that the wrestling is pretty solid. I don't know whether he's a better wrestler or worse than Raoni, but he's certainly younger and more explosive and faster at this point of his career. The entries are pretty good. His back take is really slick. He's able to do it in both of his UFC fights now and got pretty close to submitting Miles Johns in that third round. And he's a good grappler. I think that's going to give Payton Talbot problems. Now, if Payton can keep it on the feet, Lima's a good striker. He is a good striker. Good jab, good kicks, good leg kicks. And he does target the body well. Good teep also. Good uppercuts to the body. And I did notice something. So he'll be fighting, right? And he's standing from orthodox stance. He'll switch to southpaw, throw the liver kick, and then go back. And he did it multiple times. I've seen him do it more than once, particularly in the Miles Johns fight. He did it like 5 or 6 times. And like, on one hand, I like that because I love that about southpaws, right? They have the liver kick open. But on the other hand, somebody like Payton Talbot, who's a really good striker, a really technical striker, they're going to pick that up. Like, Payton's probably going to get that read. Payton probably already got that read because I'm assuming that he tapes or his coaches at least tape. Oftentimes fighters won't actually tape their opponents, but their coaches almost always do. So I do think that Talbot can take advantage of that. And if Talbot somehow was able to improve his takedown defense significantly since the Barcelos fight, yeah, this could be really close. Or if for some reason Lima can't take him down, this could look really close. Or even like Talbott as a favorite, because in a strictly striking affair, I think Payton's the better striker. I do. He's faster, sharper, rangier by a margin. He's a taller guy by 4 inches. He uses that range well. His angles are really nice. I just think he's a better striker, and he's faster, and he probably hits harder too on the feet. So if he can keep it on the feet, I think he's live. And I did think about the plus 175 when it did hit that earlier today. But I don't know. Like, I'd probably rather play Lima. I want a better line. That's all. I just want a better line, because I wouldn't put it past Talbott making big improvements. Yeah, it would be a little shocking, but he's really young. He's 26 years old. Would it be the craziest thing ever if he came out and had better hips, had better reactions? No, it wouldn't be that crazy. But one other thing throwing me off is I like to do my Instagram stalking, and I don't put a ton of stock into it, but it's definitely like a data point I look at. And Talbott doesn't post anything about training at all. He's running around with Frank Ocean, living his best life, and I can't blame him. But I want to see the guy in the gym, I want to see him grinding. I want to see him practicing. I want to see something. Without that, I just don't know where he's at. I don't know what he's up to. I don't know how hard he's been going for this fight. This got booked only relatively recently. It wasn't like a fight that's been booked for months. It's pretty new. So I just don't know how ready he possibly could be. And if I'm being real, like, Lima's probably a decent parlay leg. He probably is. But as of now, I don't know what I'm going to do with this one. I fully taped this one. I spent like over 2 hours on it. But I do want to retape it with a fresh mind, because sometimes when you do tape a fight that long, kind of get lost in your head and you can overthink things. So I'm going to take a breather, and I'll come back to it later. But I do think that Lima wins, and I lean towards it being by decision. All right, let's see what we got in the chat, and then we'll go on to the next fight. Talbot bounce back, says butter. Okay, I could see it. Lima sub Naimov, who's a 45er. He's in a ragdoll Payton. Yeah, I mean, you could say that, but Naimov is also pretty small. He's like not the biggest 145er. Okay. Nice, 155. Early was the time to take him. Now it's getting a bit wide. Yeah, I agree with you. Maybe some more money comes in on Talbot. I don't think so, just because everybody's so low on him, especially the public, because the only people who would ever parlay him at minus 900 against Raoni or minus 1,000, it's going to be the public. It's not the people who are taping fights early and looking into them. Like, nobody I know played Payton Talbot minus 1,000, but the public did, and the public's going to be pretty pissed at him now. So I feel like the money's going to come in on Lima. Talbot round 3 decision for some extra juice. I'd be lying if I didn't say I looked at the Talbot decision prop. My guy Dan from Half the Battles saying smash the like button. Listen to Dan. Listen to Dan. He's a very wise guy. He knows what he's talking about. And make sure you guys check out his stuff, because Dan has really good content. I'm pretty sure at this point he's the longest running podcast in the space. And if he's not, then one of. And he's the man. So make sure you give him a follow, a subscribe, or whatever, or at least a view on his videos. Plus 3.5 Talbot. That could be something. Let me see. Spread. Nah, no way. Not at minus 170. Like, if Barcelos at his older age can 30-27 him, I wouldn't put it like, I would not be shocked if Lima did too. I really wouldn't be. Because I think Lima beats Barcelos if we're going to start doing MMA math. And yeah. Just don't like it at chalk. Big money players bet a lot of crazy chalk. According to BetOnline, sharp money was on minus 800 Abdul Malik, which obviously was a square bet. Fair, but I wouldn't say that big money players are always sharp. I would say that most sharp people are big money players, and probably the case is that if you got a lot of money after gambling for a while, you're pretty sharp. But I'm sure there's squares out there with a lot of money who are throwing a lot of money on stupid bets. Dude, you can't just skip the whole show. We'll talk about it when we get there. And if you don't want to stick with me, I'll have timestamps so you can leave now and come back later. But then there's going to be ads. All right. Moving on, we got Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. Beneil, he's going to be 22, 6 and 136 years old. He's 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. On the other side, Moicano, he's going to be 26 and 20. That's 6, right? My eyesight's so bad. 26 and 1. He's 36 years old as well. They're literally 2 weeks apart in age. He's 5'11", so he's 1 inch taller, and he's going to have the same reach. So this one's tricky, and it kind of sucks because, like, I had Beneil the first time. I had him at like plus 145, something like that. And I thought that was a really good bet. And if I got the same line, I would have made the same bet. But of course, they rebook it after Moicano gets the title shot. And I end up with a way worse line. It's plus 100 now. And I don't want to play that. I don't feel like I have an edge anymore. And I feel like the line's probably just about right. I think that it should be pick'em. So there's maybe like a slight bit of value still on Dariush at plus 100, but not enough for me to want to get involved. I just don't like rebookings. I don't have good luck with them, and I don't really want to get involved with this one in terms of a money line side at least. But in terms of how they match up on the feet, I think that Renato's maybe a little bit better. My original read was actually the opposite. The first time this fight was booked, I went as far as to say that Dariush was a better striker. But when I retaped it for this week, I didn't agree with myself anymore. I think Renato's probably a better striker. Throws cleaner, straight down the pipe. Good 1-2s, good jab. The kicks are good. The leg kicks are good. His combinations are solid. He's going to have better output. And yeah, I think he's a little bit sharper, but he's very stiff in the striking. And I do think that Beneil Dariush, he's very awkward. His style is very awkward. It's not like what you normally see. He does use the jab very well, and he'll follow it up well with a big overhand shot. The kicks are good. The leg kicks are good. I really like the leg kicks in particular. Good body kick. But in general, I would say that if Dariush is getting it done here, it's through the grappling. I do think that he can out-grapple Renato Moicano. Both of them are elite grapplers. Both of them are really good scramblers. Both of them have elite jiu-jitsu. But I think at the end of the day, Renato Moicano is much easier to take down than Dariush. And I think Renato Moicano is a lot easier to hold down than Dariush. We've seen Moicano give up takedowns and control time to a good amount of people. RDA is one of them, but another one is Drew Dober. Drew Dober is not a wrestler. Drew Dober took him down, and he was on him for a minute, not a literal minute. I think it was a little bit more. I think it was more than that, but he got some control time, and that's not the best look going in against Beneil Dariush, who is a good wrestler, is an elite scrambler. His scrambling is really, really high level. And I just think that Dariush can take him down. I think he can keep him there. If Moicano initiates the grappling, I think Dariush can scramble and end up on top anyway. And on the feet, yeah, Renato, I said that he's a better striker. I do think that. But I don't think it's going to be like a huge gap, you know? I don't think it's going to be, oh, Renato's just piecing him up. Like, I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it'll be back and forth. Dariush will also land his shots. I don't love his output, but his output's pretty low because he's almost always grappling in his fights. So, for me, I do like Dariush to get it done. I'm going to pick him to win. It's just like plus 100 isn't enough to get me involved when he's been out since the Arman Tsarukyan knockout, 1.5 years. I think his chin is still okay, but I don't know that for sure. So I don't really want to get behind him at a really close line when I could really see either guy having a lot of success here. But if someone was to look like a big favorite, I do think it would be Dariush and not Moicano. I'll say that much. Let me catch up with the chat, and then we'll move on. Dravi saying Benny by spinning back fist. So Dravi posted today that he actually has a max bet on this card. It might be Benny by spinning back fist. That might be his max bet. I'm sure he got really good odds on it, too. Can't afford to lose. Renato wants money, bro. Renato dropped Islam, or at least gave him some Dude, I agree with you. He dropped him. I know they didn't count it, but I agree with you. But that's not enough to go. You can't just call a fight off of that one moment. And then what happened? And then he got destroyed. No one calls him Renato. It feels weird to say it. Moicano. Dariush hold his own against Gamrot, plus he hits harder. I agree with the hits harder, and he clearly did hold his own against Gamrot. Dravi's max bet is Jacobe moneyline minus 1,800. You know, he might have parlayed it with Tracy Cortez maybe to get the line down, you know? It's probably what he did. All right, moving on. I am so hyped for this fight, but before I get to it, I need to turn up my AC because it's really hot in here. All right, hopefully that's better. Next up, we've got Brandon Royval versus Joshua Van Royval. He's going to be 17-7-0, 32 years old, 5'9" with a 68-inch reach. On the other side, Van, he's going to be 14-2-0. He's going to be 23 years old, which is the craziest thing. He's 9 years younger. He's going to be 4 inches shorter, and he's given up 3 inches in reach. So, to me, this one's a little tricky. It's really tricky for me. It's really tricky because I keep saying I'm not going to fade Van anymore. I keep saying it over and over again, every fight. And then they give me a matchup, and I'm like, but I like the underdog. I like the other side. And it just keeps happening over and over again. And here we go again. He's the truth. I see it now. I recognize that he's a future champion. But they give him Brandon Royval, and I'm like, this might be too much. Like, it might be. Now, I do lean towards the Van side for him to get it done because I think he hits harder. I think his pressure is absurd. I think his body work is nasty. I love his striking. He's starting to win first rounds now, which is great. I think he's going to hit harder out of the two of them. And I just love his momentum right now. He's doing amazing. He's on a run. And if he wins this, he's going to get a title shot. And I also think he's going to have a lot of success in the pocket because Brandon Royval, long rangey, right? But when in the pocket, his chin's right there, and he's got no defense, and Van's going to be nasty there. He's going to go body head, and he's alive to knock out Royval. I think that's on the table, but a few problems there. First thing that comes to mind when I said that is, okay, let's say he knocks down Royval, right? But not out. We're going to be talking about something really similar soon when we talk about Charles Oliveira, right? Let's say he knocks Brandon Royval down, but not out. Is he going to follow him to the ground? Because if he does, that's going to be really risky because that's one of Royval's best ways to win this fight is to submit Van because I know Van has really improved his takedown defense. He's really improved his grappling. But, like, he's been a pro, I think, for less than 4 years, right? He's not a grappler. He has no real grappling background. And he's training at 4 Ounce Fight Club. Like, his best grappling training partner is Daniel Pineda. And that's fine. He's a good grappler. But I don't know that that's going to get him up to par this fast, this soon. So I think Royval is going to be tricky because if he does go down and he's not out, does Van follow him or does he let him get back up? Because that's one of the best things about Charles. That's why he's had so much success against strikers. It's because they won't follow him. So because of that, he gets more time to recover and he can come back and then get his own finish. I think that kind of dynamic might be live here. Now, other things I'm worried about, it's weird because I always thought that Van would struggle with grapplers, but it turns out that he actually does great against the grapplers, dominates them pretty much every single time, and it's the strikers who he tends to have some adversity against, you know? Kevin Borges hurts him in the first round, wins the first round, looks great, and then Van wins that fight. I lost there. Shires hurts him, had his moments on the feet. I did not fade Van there, thank God. Charles Johnson, I did bet him. Thank God that at least cashed, and he knocked out Van. So he struggled with the strikers, right? The guys who can strike, the guys who have some power, who are explosive, longer, rangier guys like Shires, like Johnson. And the problem with Van is I just don't know how long this is going to work for him, like his style. Like it's working because he's relatively durable, but his chin already got cracked. You know, like when I was driving, I was thinking to myself, like, you know, Max Holloway always had pretty bad defense, and he made it really far, and he was always really durable, and he was known for his durability. But the difference here is Van's already been cracked, like he's already been knocked out. For Holloway, it took him all the way until Ilia Topuria to knock him out. Van's already been knocked out by Charles Johnson, so the chin's already been cracked, and he is hittable. We all know that. It's just his style. So that's a concern against a guy like Brandon Royval. I think Brandon Royval, the knees, I think those might be money. I think at range, he's really improved his game. I used to be a Royval non-believer completely because I did not like his striking at all. And he's really improved his striking. Even in the pocket, he's pretty nice now, fast. But at range, he's crisp, long straight punches for the most part. He is throwing pretty wild too. Good spinning stuff. I hate spinning stuff, but Royval does it pretty well. And that could help. Not because Chirez landed it, even though he did. I know he did a little fence grab there, but it's because Van's so hittable that the spinning stuff will work or can work. And Royval's a guy who also is good at the things that Van is good at, pressure, pace, cardio, super high output. And he's fought at a much higher level. He's a longer, rangier guy. Like I said, I think that gives Van problems. So this is just tricky for me. On one hand, I want to be like, I'm done fading Van. I'm a believer, and I am a believer, but I don't know that I'm ready to fade Royval with him. I think I'm just not going to get involved unless something drastic happens with the line. And I am going to pick Van to win just because I'm tired of picking against him. But this is a pretty tough step up, and he's going to have to really be on point here. He's going to have to tighten up a little bit. He's not going to be able to give up the first round. He's got to win that first, because I don't think he's going to have a clear advantage in the third like he normally does. Usually, he's pretty guaranteed to win the third if he gets there because of how good his cardio is, because of how good his pace is, because he lands so many body shots. He tires out his opponents, drains their gas tanks. But against Royval's not going to get tired. I don't think he's going to. So he's not going to have that usual advantage. But yeah, if he just keeps it tight, keeps that forward pressure, is able to put Royval on his back foot and get himself into boxing range, into the pocket, I think he's going to get it done. But he's got several ways to lose this fight, whether it's Royval landing a clean shot and knocking him out, whether it's Royval club and subbing him. I think that's on the table for sure. Whether it's Royval scrambling off of the fence and subbing him, I think that's on the table. There's a lot of ways this can go wrong, and I wouldn't rule out a Royval decision either. So I'm just going to pass. I'm going to watch. And if Van wins and Pantoja wins and they finally give me Van a good plus money, then I might get to a Van play finally. But here, I think I'm just going to leave it alone unless he becomes the underdog again or something. Or if they give me Royval at a higher number, then I'll probably get involved too. All right, catching up with the chat, and then we'll move on. Got to fade Van here. I'm so tired of fading Van, bro. Royval vet lesson incoming. Mike KO Van. What's good, Tim? Good to see you in here, brother. Think Van might fall a little bit behind at distance. Yeah, dude, Van is so small. He was short. He was shorter than Bruno Silva when they were fighting, and Bruno Silva's like 5'4". So that's a concern. He's so small. But he's a beast. He's a beast. Way ahead of you, bro. Way ahead of you. I already had Ewert taped before we started the show. Royval sub plus 850. I don't hate that at all. I don't. I'm gonna assume you're talking about this. This is called Tapology. TAPOLOGY.com. It's really good if you tape fights. If you want to look into fighters, this is what almost all of us use. There's also Sherdog. But for me, Sherdog is always laggy and always loading. There's always a loading thing on the top of the screen. And I just like Tapology more. So, and I have a Tapology page for myself because I lost 2 times in grappling. So you can check that out too. Royval has no chance being champ as long as Pantoja is here. I agree with that. I don't think Royval can beat Pantoja. I don't. Royval sub plus 850. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good play. I don't know that I'll do it, but it makes sense to me. But all right. Co-main event of the evening. We've got Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai Kara France. Pantoja, 29, 5-0. He's going to be 35 years old, 5'5" with a 68-inch reach. Kai Kara France, 25, 11-0, 32. He's 3 years younger, 1 inch shorter, and he's going to have a 1 inch reach advantage. I'm going to piss people off, but I really have a gut feeling Kai is going to get it done. I'm not going to look. Pantoja is the rightful favorite. Okay, I'll start with that. Pantoja is the rightful favorite. When we fill this out, I'm going to pick Pantoja because I think he's the rightful favorite, okay? That does not mean I'm betting on him. That does not mean I think he's the betting side. I just think that if you run this fight 100 times, he wins at least 51 of them, okay? That's what I mean by that, because he does clearly have a wrestling advantage. We all know that. Clearly has a grappling advantage. We all know that. And he can take the back like nobody else in the division. And Kai Kara-France is known to give up his back in many, many, many fights. And also Pantoja has a lot of 5-round experience at this point, whereas Kai Kara-France only has one against Amir Albazi, okay? That's why. I'll pick Pantoja. But I think this line's way off. I think it's way off. And if you talk to people, anybody I've spoke to at least so far that has bet Pantoja or is making the case for the Pantoja money line, they all say the same thing. Back takes. And that's really it. Back takes. And I get it in that I think, like I said, he's the rightful slight favorite. And I think he wins this fight more often than not because of the grappling and back takes. But is one thing enough to make him minus 250 against a very high-level fighter in Kai Kara-France? Is it really? Like, are you really going to bet a minus 250 favorite because back takes? Like, yeah, there's a chance that they come out here and Pantoja continuously takes the back and either wins a decision or submits him. That's 100% possible. But I don't think you can lay minus 250 on the prayer of back takes. I don't. And in a 25-minute striking match, I don't agree with Duo over here. I don't think he's a better minute winner on the feet. I disagree. Pretty strong. I think Kai's a better striker. I think Kai's cleaner. I think Kai hits harder. I think Kai's setups are better for his big shots. I think his combinations are nicer. I like how he goes to the body a lot. You see him always dipping to the body with the jab, and he's been doing it literally since the first time they fought on the Ultimate Fighter. I'll talk about that in a second. He was already doing it there. I love that about him. I love how he go to the body lightly with that jab, set it up, and then go upstairs. Really good stuff from him. I think a really important thing is also his defense. Okay, Kai Kara-France's defense is way better than Pantoja's defense because Pantoja doesn't have defense. Pantoja is extremely hittable. Everybody's always known that. That's why everybody used to bet against him. I used to do the opposite. I used to always bet on him and closer lines and fights that I thought he had huge edges in, and I was able to make a lot of money. I liked Pantoja before it was cool to like Pantoja, but his defense isn't good. He's hittable. And how many times has this man been rocked? Many times. He's been rocked many, many times. And I know he hasn't been knocked out. I know that he's a really good champion. He's probably this fight away from at least being up there with Demetrius Johnson for the GOAT in the division. He's already pretty much there. Like, the dude's a beast, but I think he's going to get knocked out eventually, in my opinion. And I think that Kai is one of the people who's most live to do it. In the entire flyweight division, if anybody's going to knock out Pantoja at this point, I think it's probably going to be Kai. I think that's on the table. I think Kai winning moments on the feet by hurting Pantoja is on the table. I think him hurting him early, which I think is possible, will also stifle Pantoja's game as the fight goes on. And like, Kai just has really good really good takedown defense also. Like, I get it. He's still getting his back taken in at times. I get that he lost to Albazi. He did not lose to Albazi. We can all agree on that. But like, you watch their first fight, right? You go all the way back to the Ultimate Fighter. It was both of their second fights on the Ultimate Fighter. So it was 2016, I want to say. So we're talking 9 years ago. So Kai was 23. Pantoja was 26. Much younger. And in that fight, Pantoja could not really take him down. He took him down like twice, and he could not hold him down at all. Every single time he shot, Kai stuffed it. On point, immediate reactions, quick hips, underhook, like his life depends on it. It was really good. Now, Pantoja still won. He won on the feet, right? And now I can already see some people's minds are going to go, oh, he already beat him on the feet. Why can't he do it again? He could. It's possible. I just don't think he will. I think that at this point, I think Kai's striking has improved more than Pantoja's. And I think at this point, Pantoja's done improving. He's 35 years old in the flyweight division. He's a finished product. He's a really good finished product, but I don't think he's changed all that much from their first fight. Whereas with Kai, it's not even that I think he's changed all that much. I do think that he's gotten better. But in that fight, Kai was just scared of the takedowns. And his coaches even told him that in between the rounds. And there was only 2 rounds because that's how the Ultimate Fighter does it, unless it's 1-1. And the judges didn't have it that way. But his corner was telling him, they're like, dude, your takedown defense is really good, but you can't be so scared. You can't be scared of the takedowns. You got to go. I don't think he's going to be scared of the takedowns this time. I really don't. I don't think he's going to be as tentative. And if the takedown defense holds up like that, I think he's going to win this fight. I think he's going to look like a favorite doing it. So I think he's the betting side. I don't have a play on him yet, but I think it's 100% dog or pass here. And I personally can't make a pick case for Pantoja minus 250 just off of back takes. I can't. I don't think that's good. Now, I don't know what's happening to my voice. My throat's going. All right, let's see what we got in the chat. Daz saying, and new. Okay, Daz, I see you. Okay, we already talked about that. Him being 35, yeah. That's always a concern, especially at flyweight. Can't trust it. Based off what? Based off what? That Adesanya's no longer champ? How about all the times he won? Like when his crazy run was going and he was considered literally one of the best alive. Couldn't trust him then? Come on. Come on. Let's hope they score violence and not hugging. That's for sure. Never know with these judges. Kai has legit KO power for the weight class he does. I think he's probably one of the hardest hitters in the division by far. By far. And thank you, Jackson. Thank you. Where's the line now? Is it still the same? Yeah. Makes sense. I mean, the line doesn't make sense, but I'm not surprised that it hasn't moved much, is what I meant. All right. Moving on. We're up to our main event, finally. We got Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. Before I go on, we have 846 of you watching live right now. 60 of you are on YouTube, so that's good. We're already getting there. But if you're on Twitter, please like, comment, follow me, retweet. All really helps. If you're on YouTube, please like the video, comment, subscribe. It really helps me. If you agree with me, let me know in the comments. If you don't agree with me, let me know in the comments. And like I said before, we're going to be doing the same thing I've been doing the last 3 weeks. If I'm going to do my lotto like I do every week, if I hit the lotto, I'm going to put everybody's name who's in the live chat, only in the live chat. I'm going to put all your names in to a wheel, a random spinning wheel. I'm going to spin it, and whoever it lands on will get 10% of the profit from my lotto parlay. And you can you'll only be involved if you're in the live chat, if you're participating, and then we'll go from there. But all right, moving on. We got Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. Topuria 16-0 undefeated. He's 28 years old, which is nuts when you consider what he's already done. He's 5'7" and has a 69-inch reach. On the other side with Oliveira, he's 35, 10-0. He's going to be 35 years old, so he's 7 years older, going to be 3 inches taller, and he's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage. So, okay. Let's start with the obvious stuff. Topuria getting hurt by Jai Herbert, right? You guys heard that all week, I'm sure, and you're going to continue to hear about it, including on this show. Yes, Jai Herbert hurt him, and I'm not going to lie. When that fight happened, I was really upset at Topuria. I was like, dude, because I was high on him since he made it to the UFC, slightly before that. I was already aware of him. I was super high on Topuria. I thought he can go places in the featherweight division. And then he did that thing where fighters want to stay active and they go up in weight class, and I think it's terrible half the time. So I wasn't happy about it. I was worried that he was undersized. I was worried that he might not be able to handle the power. I was worried about all that. And he did get hurt. But he did recover. And he also cooked Jai Herbert. He absolutely cooked him. So if there's any question about his power translating to lightweight, put that away. Because when he took that fight, that was on, I don't know if it was short notice, but I'm pretty sure it was. But he was not bulking up for 155. He had no intention yet to move up to 155 and stay there. His intention was still to be the 145 champion. So he didn't pack up all the muscle. He didn't go through with a nutritionist to properly move up to 155 and get that bulk. He just did it. And his power still translated. Like Jai Herbert, he cooked him. Body, head, dead. It was nuts. So I'm not worried about the power translating whatsoever because now he knew he was moving up to lightweight. He let go of his title at 145. He's looking pretty thick. He's looking pretty strong. You know he's got the best nutritionist and all that. I heard some people talking about like, oh, Topuria is rich now. He doesn't care as much. He's not with his camp anymore, his main camp. Okay. First off, about the rich thing, I could be wrong, but I'm 90% sure he was rich before MMA. Pretty sure his family's rich. So clearly that didn't hurt him before. Don't think that's going to hurt him now. Second thing about the camp, he hasn't trained with them in a while. I'm pretty sure at least his last fight against Holloway, he already wasn't training with them. He moved. That's really the only reason. He's in a different part of Spain than they are. Doesn't train with them anymore, but he hasn't in a while, and I'm not super concerned about that either. Now, I think it's a fair point to say that Oliveira is the most dangerous person Topuria has fought so far, because I would agree with that. Max Holloway, Volk, they're elite fighters, but I don't know that they're as dangerous as Charles. I don't think that they are. Charles hits like a train. Charles is elite in the jiu-jitsu. So yeah, he's the most dangerous guy Ilia's fought. He's the biggest guy. Maybe he'll give him problems like Jai Herbert did if he uses his range, which I don't really think Oliveira does all that well. But if he does, I guess I could see him having some success on the feet against Topuria, but I don't really think so. Like, okay, look, if he tries to keep him at range, like, is he really going to be able to stop Topuria's forward pressure? Is he really going to stop himself from putting his back to the fence as Topuria pressures him? I don't know about that. And Charles's head is pretty high, the chin. I just feel like Topuria is going to land shots. Like, he's going to land on him. He's a cleaner boxer, in my opinion. He's faster, in my opinion. I think he hits harder, which I get it relatively sounds crazy because he's moving up in weight and Charles is a hard hitter. But that's my personal opinion. Now, am I saying that Charles can't knock him down, can't maybe club and sub him? No, he could. He could. He's elite. He's a former champion. He's probably one of Topuria's hardest tests to date because of the different challenges that he hasn't faced yet, you know, with how dangerous Charles is, with the size at 155 against a former champion. It's a tough fight for sure. But I just think that Topuria is a nightmare matchup for Oliveira. I think that guys like him, guys like Islam, guys like Armin, those are tough matchups for Charles because they can follow him to the ground. That's all it comes down to for me. When I look at Charles and I look at the success he had when he beat Gaethje, when he beat Poirier, when he beat Chandler, these guys don't want to follow him to the ground, right? And he's not really getting knocked out. He's getting knocked down. Nobody's really icing him and just taking him away from consciousness. He gets hurt all the time, but then he falls on his back, and he knows because he has elite jiu-jitsu, they're not going to follow him. And if they do, he's happy about it because he can sub them. But he knows that they probably won't, and that just gives him time to recover. He can recover while he's on his back, and then he gets back up, and he's right back to it. You'll knock him down again, and he'll do the exact same thing. And then he'll knock you down and then submit you like he did against Gaethje. Gaethje knocked him down, what, 2-3 times? So that's always been the problem with strikers, why they struggle with Oliveira. Almost all of them knock him down. Almost all of them are the better strikers than him. They just can't take advantage of knocking him down because they're scared of going to the ground. But Islam wasn't. Armin was not. And Topuria is not going to be because they're all really good grapplers. Right? They're all good wrestlers, but they're also good grapplers, and they're very hard to submit. Oliveira was never submitting Islam, not in my opinion. I know he came damn close against Armin, but again, Armin's submission defense held up. And I don't think he's going to submit Topuria either. I don't. I think Topuria is going to follow him to the ground because he knows he can, and I think he's going to submit Charles. I do. A lot of people just started watching Topuria recently. A lot of people didn't watch him pre-UFC. A lot of people didn't watch him early UFC. Topuria didn't get to the dance with his boxing. That came later. He didn't come into MMA as a boxer. He came into MMA as a grappler. That was his game. He's always been a very good wrestler, and he's always been really good in the jiu-jitsu department. Very slick submissions. And that was his game before the UFC. And then once he got to the UFC, he started to develop the striking, and we started to see that from him. The combinations, right? The body head combo that he's famous for. He's hit it how many times at this point? So, in my opinion, Ilia is probably one of the worst matchups you could give to Charles because of exactly that. If Ilia is to hurt him, and I think he's going to, he can follow him. He's not going to give him the time to recover. He's going to go straight to the ground. And I guess he can try to pound him out, but I think it's just way easier for a guy like Topuria to just submit him. That's where I'm at. That's what I'm thinking. Now, I do want to catch up with the chat and answer some of these questions because I did notice them from the corner of my eye. Oliveira sounds like a couch value bet. Nah, not here, bro. Not on this one. Saw Ilia close up in person 2 years ago at the UFC Expo. And the first thing that came to my mind is how small he is. Charles is a lot bigger. At those odds, I have to take a shot at Charles. I mean, look, that's fair. I can't blame anyone for taking the shot. The odds are pretty nuts. I don't want to get involved on the money line, you know? So I can't blame anybody. I just don't think the size is going to matter all that much. I don't see Charles as a guy who can stick and move. I don't see him as that. And then if he can't stick and move, what difference does it make how big he is? It just means his chin is higher. Gaethje isn't Topuria. No, Topuria is better. Topuria doesn't hit harder than Chandler, Poirier, Justin. Let's be realistic. And Marcus is asking me if I think, look, I can't answer that and be certain about it. I'd be lying to you. But my gut reaction, I think he might. And I don't think he necessarily has to. I'm not asking him to knock out Charles because I just said he doesn't have to knock him out cold. Just knock him down and then follow him because I think he can do it. And then I think he can submit him. That's really what it comes down to for me. Maybe he doesn't hit as hard as they do. Maybe he doesn't. But I don't think he necessarily has to. Yeah, Charles is very hittable. Why didn't he knock out Bryce Mitchell? Bryce isn't chinny. I know he got knocked out by Josh M and deaded, but he's not chinny. And he submitted Bryce, by the way. Charles lost to shorter dudes than Topuria like Frankie Edgar. That's facts. Now, I'd argue that Charles has gotten a lot better since then, but I think Topuria is gonna beat him, bro. I personally do. Topuria does hit harder. He knocked out in the max while nobody could. That's a fair point, but you could also argue back that Max had it coming for a while. You know, he took so much damage, and we're all human. You know, at the end of the day, we all got to wipe our butts after we poop. We're all human beings, and eventually that chin's going to give up, you know? So, could also be that. Ilia KO 1-2 or sub, cool. Yeah, I like sub. I kind of like the sub. I think if he gets it done ITD, I think that's more likely to knockout, personally. Because I don't see Oliveira as a guy who's going lights out. And again, as I said multiple times, I just think for guys like Topuria, guys like Islam, it's a lot easier to submit him than it is to knock him out. And I'm also pretty sure Ilia said that he wants to submit Charles. Now, don't quote me. I could be wrong there. I remember hearing that. And I don't normally put much stock into it, and I'm not putting much stock into it. But a guy like Ilia, who's like 85% ego, he usually means it. He usually means it, and he's at least going to try. So, just another thing that I think about. Ilia gaps in his game, his tendency to move straight backward with effective angles or defensive awareness. Yeah, but can Charles pressure him without getting cracked? That's my question. Often relies on the same combinations with drives and chaotic exchanges. Yeah, I mean, look, guys, I'm not over here arguing that you should lay the chalk on Ilia. I'm not doing it. I'm just telling you who I think wins the fight and why. If you force me to bet a money line, yeah, it would be Charles. The line's probably wide with the information we have, but I just think Ilia is going to beat him, and I think Ilia is going to submit him. That's what I think. That's it, guys. That's UFC 317. Thank you for bearing with me through the mess of my Wi-Fi when the entire show went black and I thought that we'd have to cancel. So thank you guys for bearing with me. We've got 877 of you guys watching live. So thank you very much. Really, really appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, comment wherever you're watching. It really, really helps. We'll go through the pick one. We'll go through the picks one more time, and then we're going to get on out of here. So we're going Jacobe Smith. We're going Diniz, but dogger pass at this line for me. We're going with, I don't want to make a pick because I don't want to ruin the line for my guys, but if you're in House of Stims, you'll get my pick. Terrance McKinney. Cortez, but dogger pass for sure. Hyder, Greg, Lima, Dariush, Van, I guess. Pantoja, but dogger pass all day. And Topuria. And that's it, guys. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Yeah, he's not Marcus, but he's fighting somebody else, McVey. He's fighting Chris Ewert. So that's the fight I'm talking about when I say that I don't want to say who I picked. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Good luck this weekend, and peace out.